Hello, everybody. Welcome to CyberKriya Show, where enterprise cybersecurity wisdom happens one podcast at a time. This episode, I would say, is more of a personal episode for me. Somebody I connected very recently on LinkedIn. The first call we had, we both felt like there was something common. I don't know, maybe because of the how we are as in person, or maybe the lot of give back and lot of volunteer work we do and just trying to do our part in this world, make this world a better place. He comes from our SAP Security GRC background. So he's somebody he's an expert from our field. He's a builder. He has built something out of his own. And my effort today would be to learn more about it for the anybody who's like a SAP Security GRC. It may be a very on the early phase of their professional journey, how they can learn from him and everybody in India trying to be a entrepreneur, right? So maybe learn few things from him if we can. Even I would love to learn from him as well. He does a lot of trainings. As I said, he's building a lot of in the AI world, in the SAP space. So without further ado, please join me to welcome Sarveshvaran Rajendran, or known as Sarvesh, in our circle. Sarvesh, welcome to the show.
Gaurav, thanks for having me.
So, Sarvesh, for the audience who may not know you, I will give you a moment to introduce yourself. Like, who is Sarvesh?
Yeah. So Sarvesh, like most of the people like who are watching this show, like probably know me kind of like an IAG guy. So that's what like I've been in recent days, like I've been extensively posting in the social platform. But just a very quick intro about Sarvesh. It's like it's a kind of coincidence. I completed my 15th year in SAP GRC journey. So the
Okay,
same day
congratulations.
back in 2000, thank you. The same day in 2010 I started and been in the GRC since like almost all through the all versions of GRC. So it's all started from there. The good thing what happened is like I got on-site opportunity in a part of like very early stage of my career. Almost like within first 6 months I got an on-site opportunity, and whenever we are in on site like we tend to learn more. And of course like I'm from India, I'm from Bangalore, and on site like usually like we get an opportunity when we are around like 7 8 years. Usually in those time like we should have at least 7 8 years of experience to be in on site. I got it in first 6 months itself, so lucky over there. And then been to Saudi Arabia and been to one of the largest petroleum production company in the world. So got an opportunity to go there, understand the system, and that gave me like lots of exposure and a kind of like holistic picture. I got a holistic picture, I would say. So that in the initial part of the career helped me to boost my confidence, and again like got to know the complete architecture of what I'm doing in and around the GRC space. So at that point of time, connecting close to 20 25 plus system was a very big deal. And as a GRC consultant, could able to get that opportunity was kind of like a big thing. Then came back to India 2013, and then like want to start build something of own. So the entrepreneurial journey started in 2013, would say. Just registered a firm and then like got an opportunity to develop a product. So the product is called as Route 1 for GRC. So it's all about reducing the implementation of GRC from 4 months to 3 days. So that's the one liner which the entire innovation was around. So then partnered or like worked closely with a firm called as Integracy, and later that firm was acquired by EY, and naturally like I've also become part of Integracy and subsequently into EY. And after that it was just like things were going on corporate life for 2 3 years. And then again in 2018, lots of things again started changing more in SAP. And again, wanna try from the entrepreneurship aspect. At that time, BTP was there, newly introduced. Want to do something of own, and I was just reading a book from my guru or like the mentor called as Most and More. And there was one saying in that book called as like, you want to be one among the crowd or one above the crowd. So whether you want to set the benchmark or whether you want to just follow the rest. So for some reason, like after reading that, close to 3 4 days was not getting sleep, and things were more working towards it. At that point of time, I was with Honeywell and BTP was newly introduced. Lots of things was changing in the SAP world. want to develop kind of like product. So that's how started working on it, and then subsequently registered a firm. And one thing what I was very sure is I'm gonna only do the bootstrapping. So no investment, nothing. If you want to do something from bootstrap in India, like we also need to have some a kind of like financial planning. So that's how first started entering into the service. Service was like a kind of fueling factor for the product. So that's how it all started. Now, first 3 years survival, and then that's where typical entrepreneurship journey in India works, right? Like first started with survival, and then entered into a kind of like a stage where survival become the wealth creation. So need to take care of the wealth aspect for myself, employees, and all that. Now more into the value creation side of it by creating lots of content, helping the community. That's why like last 2.5 3 years extensively every Tuesday and Thursday I make sure like I post something which will be useful for the community, and take lots of training, because like knowledge is something which needs to keep passing through. So that's why like take lots of training, and yeah, that's it. More I have 15 years story in like some 10 some 7 8 minutes.
I love it. I love it, Sarvesh. When I was listening to you, I was feeling like I'm watching a Shark Tank. Uh, Again, this is one part. I think everybody in some capacity, I think, wanna be where you are, the entrepreneur, right? I think that the kind of bug has bitten almost everybody with the Shark Tank, both in the US and in India and across the world. So it's just very fascinating to hear from somebody who has done that. I heard two times and still working on it. And so all the good luck from our side, my side. Keep excelling. And I love the, as you said, you were still taking training. So you're not giving training, which is you're doing it, but you're also taking training. You are learning every day, which I feel like all of us should be doing it, right? Like you can never know all everything. And as I said, the word is changing in SAP word, the BTP, and it's just changing more than you can imagine, right? So you gotta learning. So I just love that's like a right there. The one thing if you have to say, keep taking trainings, keep learning every day if you can.
Yes.
So I think you said you are a SAP IAG guy. So I always try to um, map like, okay, more from I would say. So let's try to maybe for this podcast, let's try to say we have two audiences here. So one audience is maybe a SAP security, a GRC professional, maybe still early in their career, or maybe they are into their 10, 15, 20 years. I think we have such a strong SAP GRC and SAP security community, right? Back in India and US and globally as well. And the second audience, I would say, is more from the customer side. So let's start with the first audience. So anybody listening, watching to you today, Sarvesh, uh, maybe let's tackle that first until maybe 5 years. They are into their initial journey until 5 years, and they just do like SAP security, GRC, maybe not like more like a support, but that's where you start. You start in the support, and you got lucky
Exactly.
in the and you went to on-site. But you said there's always you have to earn your place, right? Until
Yes.
7, 8 years, you're not seen as like expert. You got lucky, and which you said there's always luck factor. But anybody listening to you today, and in that whole 0 to 5 year experience in SAP security and GRC space, what they should be doing today, because the GRC world is changing with IAG and everything there. So what's your first advice to them?
Yes. So probably like my first advice would be like, okay, so before even getting into it, like one thing which we all in the SAP community or like wider IT community, I would say, like things now gets changed drastically, as you were just highlighting about the importance of learning. So just to give a few data sets, right? I mean, like the company like which I started, the name itself is Data Nub. Like data plays a very crucial role in all the aspect like what we discuss and what we speak in day-to-day activities. In 2010, I mean, like so just to just go back a bit to explain the context, and then I'll try to answer your questions. In 2010, there was a study which was made about the amount of data which gets collected. So what that study tells us, like from the beginning of the time, like humanity has close to around 5,000 years of history. And in the 5,000 years of history, we collected something called as 5 exabytes of data, which means like 5 multiplied with 10 to the power of 18 exabytes of data. So that is like from the beginning of time till 2003. And after that, every 12 hours, we create 5 exabytes of data. And the biggest challenge is in 2010, again, the study continues and it says like in 2010 till 2010, we collected approximately 2 zettabytes of data as a whole. So now in 2025, by 31st of December, by end of this month, we will be hitting that to 183 zettabytes of data. So which means the amount of data which is getting collected, it grows so much. And with all the AI things coming up, AGI things coming up, OGI things coming up, like all these things keeps adding more and more data set into it. And what happens is like the things gets changed drastically. Whatever like 1 year before we did, now the things completely will change because the data is getting changed. If the data is getting changed, the data pattern will get changed. And if data pattern gets changed, then the logic around how things works also gets changed. So in my opinion, whether I am a 15 years experience or I'm 2 years experience, things do change. Every 6 months, S4 HANA cloud goes for an upgrade. Every 1 year, we get a new S4 HANA system. We started in 2023, some 2 years before. Today, we have S4 HANA 2025. And many things does change in S4 HANA 2025. Just to give an example, Joule for developer works only in S4 HANA 2025 and it does not work in the previous version. So the amount of configuration things what we need to do, the prerequisites to do a specific item, that is something which is keep evolving, which is changing because we are lucky enough that again, we are in a transition where we have seen computers at the early stage, internet at the early stage, mobile at the early stage, AI in the early stage. Like our kids probably they will not have that thing like our generation, like you, me, people who are like from 26 to year 55. We have changed lots of things. We have seen lots of things, and we need to keep evolving. So that way, like probably my advice is not for the people in the early stage because any which ways they are bound to learn and they will learn. My advice is more for people who are more than 10 years. If you think that you are focusing only on SAP security, the game is gone. My concern or my advice is more for the senior folks because the juniors by default will have the adoption of AI. They tend to learn the work like how they need to be doing. So that's how they will be studying in the college and that's how they will transition. It's more for seniors, especially like people who are 7 8 years experience. It's high time every day we need to learn and things keeps evolving. It's not only now S4 HANA or like ECC world is already gone and it's not only about SAP security or just PFCG, SU25 or like SU20 or SU01. It's beyond. It's identity. It's cybersecurity. So my focus is more for seniors and of course for juniors. First 3.5 to 4 years plays a very crucial role. So that's the main important thing, like which we need to be very, very conservative in making sure that we learn each and every aspect like what we do and we understand architecture as a whole rather than just understanding one piece of the software. Rather, we need to holistically understand so that we understand the architecture and that way like we can keep inventing our own stuff. And now it's all about like how we ask question rather than answer because AI has all the answers. It's all about like how we frame the question properly and how you frame it right. So you don't need to know anything. You just need to know how to ask question. That's more than sufficient.
So be a curious mind. I think my other guests, I think they say the whole hacker mindset, right? I think they have to be curious enough, right? So to ask right questions, right prompt. Do you think there is role for mentors? Like, have you had mentors and like who you have become? Is it like more like you learning? I know you said there's a book you read, but have you had like mentors and you feel like that is something our new generations and kids should look towards and at least have mentors who can guide and maybe like this is something you have seen in your life helping you or something you want to respond on that one, the mentorship and mentee, Sarvesh?
Yes, of course. Like in my opinion, mentors and girlfriends are both safe. So you get a good one, then your life is settled.
Okay, that is new to
So
me. Okay, okay,
yeah.
I'll take it. Okay.
So and of course, like there might be a chance we may not get mentors, and usually like my preference, at least like in most of the cases, like what I do. And this always happens probably for entrepreneurs or like people who are in the entrepreneur journey. You unfortunately will be in the topmost cadre of your pyramid. I mean, like in the entire organizational pyramid, you will be in the topmost layer. And people who are at the topmost layer are the most alone. They are the one who feels always alone. We can't speak with the customers the way we want to speak. We can't speak with our partners the way we want to speak, because like they will think us in a different we can't even speak with our employees the way we want to speak. So that's something which keeps for like that's some. And since like I have taken this entrepreneurship journey like way before, it was too early for me to take that in the initial days. So it was always like I used to feel alone. And in most of the cases, my mentor probably is like books. I read lots of books. And somehow, like for everything, like you ask, I can quote one reference from any one of the book. So whether it is like Think and Grow Rich, or it is Wings of Fire, or it is like the CEO mindset, or the Power of Subconscious Mind, most and more, unposted letter. You keep asking, I can give books actually. Like for me, like it's more book is something which I always think as a mentor. And it's all about like how we the mindset on which we read. So every time it gives us some different meaning, the same book, the same thing, but it gives a different meaning when the perspective of how we see. And there is a quote also which says like that we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. So every time we read from a perspective it gives. So probably like I would say like book is something which you can always consider as the best mentor.
So at one point, I just came in my mind. Like at one point, my daughter was saying, if somebody asks what my dad does, I will tell he just buys books.
Awesome.
So I think I am completely 100% agree. Like books are the great mentors you can have. Like you're not limited to the luck, right? Like if I know you, maybe I will say, okay, we can have that mentor-mentor relationship. But if you said you're on the top of the hierarchy, or maybe you're just alone, you are still young, or you don't had a opportunity to have a mentor, read books. I think there's so much of wisdom, so much of wealth out there. And yeah, they are the mentors. Even like for me, it's every day. I have like 4 or 5 books sitting like in my next to when I sleep to my bed. I just open random pages, just learn one thing. I think that's what I try to learn. So thank you. I think we'll probably will maybe I think I was thinking maybe we should do like a even list of the books. Like I don't know, maybe we'll if you have some such list, if you can share, we'll try to put it on our podcast as well for anybody listening if they want to say, okay, which books and I heard a lot of books. Think and Grow Rich and everything, which is my favorite too. But yeah, we'll try to, if you can share that service, we'll try to put it on a podcast. But going back to our the field where we both come from, the SAP field, and you said the world is changing every day. You said about AI, which is like another it's just here. AI is here to stay, right? You can't deny AI. It's same as the cloud. Everybody's saying cloud is somebody else's computer, and some but cloud it is here, and everybody prefer cloud is more secure than even on-prem sometime, right? So it's same for AI. But before we go to the AI topic, I would love to deep dive on the AI, the things you're building, the problems you're solving, Sarvesh. But let's just try to say, if I'm a customer going on my S4 transformation journey with BTP and everything else and AI, right? I said identity is we say identity is the new perimeter, right? And then I think the one thing which I feel like SAP ecosystem has done better was the whole GRC ecosystem, right? I still see, and they are like, okay, both the theories, but I feel like this GRC, the way we do it, right? The experts, the community we have. I don't think any other, if you go in the InfoSec and cyber world, GRC, I still feel like they are not there, at least on the technical, systematic, and then the compliance driven, the whole SOX driven and things like the controls driven world we live, right? Like we are audited every day for everything we do, right? This is always there's somebody behind you, right? I don't see that happening that often in the cyber, but unless you have some compliance which is limited to certain area, right? So let's go to our identity. So if I'm a customer going on my S4 transformation journey with BTP and everything, how do I make sure I'm doing everything right for my identity? What system I should be implementing? I think you are the expert, you do a lot of training, so I want to hear some thought. Like if you just have to talk to a customer, maybe you don't have enough time, maybe like what would be your advice on that, Sarvesh?
Yeah. So like that's a great question actually, and my first probably like I'll just break this into two different segments to answer the question. So first thing is like when a customer is transforming from ECC to S4, right? So the first and the foremost thing is, of course, like to keep the business continuity, it is like more preferred to go with lift and shift, where like the existing ECC setup, it is taken as it is and it is updated in S4, and then they just do the business partner, or like we call it as like CVI conversion and all that. But most of the customers, like they tend to go with the lift and shift approach. But one thing we should be very cautious or careful is on the identity side, because in ECC world, it is only material management. But here in S4 world, when we go for Rise with SAP probably, then we have Ariba coming into the picture. We have some amount of things goes to Ariba buying, some amount of things goes to Ariba, so like in terms of sourcing, and then many portion of HR goes to success factor, and some amount of the core modules will stay in S4, but there are many extension modules which is available, and now SAP is suggesting, and there is a very logical reason why they are suggesting to go for clean core, where most of your ABAP developments or Z developments will also go to BTP, and it's like a kind of like BTP will become your core data set for any integration as well as custom development, and then subsequently like all this your S4 will be just a core, your ERP core. So that way, like when we are doing a user conversion, like from ECC to S4, if you want to get a best benefit of it, don't convert all your users of ECC directly into S4. You need to segregate that users, whether they are part of HR, whether they are part of core S4 users, whether they are part of procurement users, whether they are part of the BTP, which they don't need to even have. The advantage what you get is you will have a lots of license saving because of FUE patterns like what we have. And then the system or the identity orchestration between the systems happens properly. So that's one advice which I always give when I go and meet customers, or like when we meet in events. And this is something which I always recommend, that when you are doing the user conversion, kindly be cautious whether this user is truly needed in your system, in your S4 HANA system, or whether they will be in the other system. That comes a kind of like there's a hidden challenge in it. The thing is like in case of ECC world, it is all about one ABAP stack, which I want to manage it everything. So now I have an ABAP stack, then I also have a non-ABAP stack. In non-ABAP stack, my GRC alone does not work, or my access control alone does not work. Then I have to bring more as an identity based solution. So that is where IAG comes into the picture. Even before IAG, IAS and IPS, which we call it as CAS or Cloud Identity Services, comes into the picture. So you need to have one place where all your user data source gets resided, which is what SAP is pushing more to IAS or Identity Authentication Services, which will be the placeholder where all your cloud application user store will sit, and your S4 HANA user store will sit in SU01. So this two, the marry or the mix of both of this will be your entire identity, and that's the state which customers eventually should reach to get the best benefit of the mix of it. So that is why still like the new version of GRC, which is planned to come in next year also, like all the cloud applications are still not supported because that will be still with IAG. And that's how the future roadmap also will look.
So I heard multiple things. So one thing I heard was, even though you're doing lift and shift for your ECC to S4
Process.
transformation, you don't recommend that to for the user, because you said with the clean core, low code, no code, users may move to BTP world, right? We may not need all the users in your S4. I heard the SAP's cloud identity services become the core even before IAG. That's your identity directory. That's your all users should be. And I believe that is also prerequisite for your AI adoption too, right? For AI to Joule to work, you need to have that, right? All the users should be in my uh, identity services. They call SCI, CIS, or IES. I know we keep using three different acronyms. I always get confused which one we should be using. I think the right one is SCI. I asked, I think, Harjeet, who's like a SAP trainer, educator. He's amazing expert in from our field. Like, I think the right acronym is SCI, which I'm like, okay, I have to make sure I use that. SAP's Cloud Identity Services, so SCI is what I think it seems we should be calling then IES, IPS, and so that should be okay, 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 okay. Yeah. So Okay, so Hadi is real. I think he does trainings and all. I'm just loved his insights. So the SCI become your identity directory that becomes your all the identities from SAP, whether it's S4, whether it's your Ariba and your anything should all come there, right? For even for the AI to work, and then just from the whole identity perspective, right? And then I heard something at which I wanna, I think, take you because I saw your post about that, and I really that's one topic I feel like had made our job more complex, but I also feel like has also made our job more important, which is FUV, full user equivalent. That is its full form, right? Or
That's right.
so, what is FUV? If you can just maybe cover on a very layman term, and then I feel like that FUV should be now in normal world, you would do everything, build users, roles, and go live. The licensing would come maybe after a year or 2 year, whatever. Then you're scrambling, right? But it seems like with the FUV, because that's like something you have to do it before you sign up your RISE contract and your everything, right? So it feels like that has given another why for us as a security professionals to build your roles properly, these privileges and not adding just random authorization objects and things like that. So I want to take your brain on that topic, which is, I feel like to me, it was like such a, I feel like now, because every additional FUV would cost money. So every authorization object you add in your role can bump up the user licensing from whatever core to whatever we call it advanced, I believe, right? So now you will have somebody else behind you, the security professionals, right? Why my FUV counts are rising and things like that in the new S4 and Rise and Word, right? So what is that FUV thing, Sarvesh? I want to take your brain. I know you are expert. You have done something. I saw your post about LinkedIn too, but I really want to make it more like dissect it in a very easy layman term, and also what as a customer I should be thinking about it. Not like afterthought. It should be baked in my transformation, my design, my implementation, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's a good topic actually as well. So now, like again, going back to the ECC world and comparing that with the S4 HANA, especially RISE customer. So like you are signing a contract with SAP on SAP RISE. So once you sign a contract, in the bill of material, you get what are all the list of products which we are interested in. Let's take in customer X or like customer Y. So like I say I am already in my ECC world, and like now I am going to go into S4. So within S4, like I will have multiple bill of materials in my contract. So one, it will tell Ariba, it will tell SuccessFactors, SAP Analytics on cloud, and then this portion comes called as FUE based user. So in S4, like in the ECC world, the license is never counted based on the usage. Like it is all considered as a seat license, meaning I have 1,000 users and I can use 1,000 users. So that is in the production landscape. And I need to pay only for the developer user in my development landscape. So that's the usual trend which was there. So now in the S4 and especially in RISE, so the licensing model itself is driven through the usage. Meaning, if I am a employee self-service or like I'm more like a kind of an just doing my routine work, I'm an accounts payable clerk, or like I'm primarily just a HR user. In that particular case, my license will not be, or my FUE count will not be counted as one. Rather, it will be counted as 1 divided by 30, which means one FUE will be shared by 30 people when they use, that will be counted as one FUE. Whereas if I am a developer, then I'll be using two FUE. And if I am a functional consultant, then I'll be using one and a half FUE. And if I am a core user, then I'll be using one. Again, it keeps growing as this structure or this item goes. And how all this is determined behind the scene. That's what like you were just telling as well. There is a report which prepares all this, and that is something which will be sent to SAP also, called a star report. And the star report is nothing but why star, because authorization. So if you have star in any of your authorization object, that will be counted as pro user or functional user. And if you don't have star in the authorization object, like you can't just simply assign the roles with all star for the authorization object. And it is causing one risk, of course, like the business risk, and more important risk now is the licensing risk also. Your FU count will just shoot up because your user will not know that he has this authorization object and he will never even be using it. But practically, it will be counted for the licensing purpose. So that's the reason it is very critical that FUE count is always like You need to make sure that your roles are clean. And this is one of the important thing which we need to also consider in the project plan in a layman terminology. When you're transforming from ECC to S4, in addition to the lift and shift of your business processes, role definition or like the role remediation, especially from the FUE standpoint, is another important activity which we need to consider when you are in your transformation journey. Otherwise, it will have an impact on your licensing count also.
So I didn't know that whole star, like why this was called a star. And I love the way you said, okay, because maybe, I don't know, you add a star and it's okay. So I didn't know that part. If it's true, then okay, I think I like it. Even like the ECC to S4 word also changing from like how we even build roles, right? So from T code to authorization objects, now more Fiori based, more web
Yes.
based, more BTP based, work zone based, and whatnot, right? Sivan, do you think that's making our life or work more difficult? Is there mm, like what is your take on that? Is it because
I
it's
will, yeah, rather like I'll consider the other way. Like now people are truly understanding the importance of a security consultant. Like
okay?
in our days, right? I mean, like both of us are almost on the same age. So in our days, like people does not differentiate basis consultant and security consultant.
Yeah,
If I just go and tell like I'm a security consultant, okay, SU01. So security is not only about SU01, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it goes beyond. It goes to the financial assertion. It goes to the process control. It goes to risk mitigation. It goes so much of topic is like what GRC as a whole, like we speak. So now people are understanding the real importance of SAP security slash like authorization or like identity consultant. Of course, like it makes things bit complicated, but there is a fundamental aspect associated with that. As systems keeps changing, like previously we were just working on ABAP stack. Now we are also working on multiple non-ABAP stack also, whether it is SuccessFactor, whether it is Ariba, Fieldglass, SAP Analytics on Cloud, now BDC. So all of these applications, it's not fundamentally developed in ABAP. So because of which the architecture for each of this application changes. And SAP also, I mean, like it's easy to say that things are not standard. And so every enterprise is going through the transformation journey. Even SAP is also going for a transformation journey. And we are in that portion of time frame where we need to be in the transformation journey. So that being said, uh, IAG was not there previously. Now IAG comes into the picture. Then holistically we need to think. So in my opinion, I would say like you need to have a mix of both. So now don't limit yourself only to S4 HANA security. You completely uh, get like be strong in S4 HANA security. The immediate next thing what you need to also start working is on the BTP security. So in the BTP security, you tend to learn all the cloud side of it. Then in S4HANA security, then you mix both of it. And that's where the IAG comes into the picture, or primarily that is where the risk factor comes into the picture. Very, very important aspect called as cross system risk analysis. Meaning now I can't do or I can't compare only my S4HANA system. That is one stack of your software. You also have another non S4HANA stack as well, whether it is Ariba or SuccessFactor and all that. Now you need to do the risk analysis for both. So that you can't do in your access control, or you can't do that in your PFCG, or like when you do a authorization check, you can't do it only at your S4 HANA system, because the risk can also come from your cloud application. You need to do cross application risk analysis. Only tools like IAG or like Savient or Pathlock, like only this kind of solutions can have that capability where it can do a cross system risk analysis. So now, if you are calling yourself as a SAP security, you should not limit yourself to S4 HANA alone, or not Fiori security or transaction security. It is all about S4 HANA plus BTP. Both combined together is what is SAP security now.
Yeah, I think there was a comment on our on one of the podcasts I had with Raghu, who's our GRC expert and written author and established, and I think somebody whom I've been following for years too. So like I want to learn more about Fiori security. I think I really like, I think the way you said, like we have to maybe like say, like this is the time for us to shine, right? Like the time has gone. Like people will say, oh, SC01, this is so easy, right? Anybody can create, like basis can create, they can do security as well, right? I think, but with this whole FUV, with the BTP and everything else going on, the time is now for us as a community. Even no matter whether you are 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15, 20, whatever years you have been doing this role building master role, derive role. I think those things are still, I would say, is there. But now you have to say that time has passed. You said, I think earlier, right? Like you have to really roll up your sleeves, learn these things, raise your hand, ask questions, seek help, get training, reach out to somebody like Sarvesh, if you're not sure, Raghu, Harjeet, and all these experts out there. Like, there's so much of wealth and wisdom in our community. Just like, don't be that guy, like a shy guy. I think I had somebody in my like Julian who was like don't be shy, like just reach out. I think people are there to help. They will share, and there's so much content from SAP, and it's just so much of learning going on. SAP Learning has a lot of good content too. But I love it. I feel like I do love this new environment because we are learning. This is more opportunity for us to learn the real like cyber world, the JSON things, the API and things like that, which would you probably would not have heard about it, right? The integration suite has opened up multiple things there too, right? Do you agree, Service? This is a time for us to shine.
Absolutely. I mean, like, this is the right time. I feel like probably like people before us did not got this opportunity. As I was saying, like they might have just seen one transition. That's all. We are more lucky. Like we have seen multiple transition. Like in my case also, like right. When I started in my initial site, it was just ABAP. Then WebDyn Pro came. Then you need to learn about WebDyn Pro, how it works. Then Fiori came. You need to learn how Fiori works. SAP started acquiring SuccessFactor. Then we need to understand SuccessFactor security. What is RBP? Then Ariba came. Then we need to understand what is Ariba groups. Then field class came. Then BTP came. So it's like continuous journey. That way, like at least like now people are understanding the importance of security consultants. So I can proudly say that this is a moment like we need to just take it and we need to get things in right direction.
Yeah, I think I can. Yeah, I can see because we have been as if seen the journey, right? And we are always like the last to be part of the project or something is already built and then oh we didn't have this T code access or whatever, right? But do you think that mindset is changing across too, right? They now see SAP security or SAP cybersecurity or the BTP security. Do have others are accepting that reality, like there is a more to the SAP security team? Like how what has been your experience? Like have you seen this change or is it it's still not there yet? Like it's based on different customers, different team, or what is your response on that?
Yeah, so I mean, like, so that's a good question. I mean, like, on the honest feedback is like now the traction is coming more and more. Probably like after an year or two, this will be exponentially going more because, like, if you see like across the globe right now, the focus is more on the transformation. Like ECC to S4HANA transformation is happening. So the real impact of this transformation, we will start getting the results after 1 or 2 years. So now people who are in the project who are already started their journey from ECC to S4, they understand the value of SAP security consultants. So now that keeps shifting as more and more customers come towards this journey. And once everyone is in the S4 or is in like the BTP, that's where the clear mandate will come. And again, one more important thing which we need to also tell is like 2027 IDM is also going to go away, which means like SAP IDM, there won't be SAP IDM in future. So it will be Microsoft Entra, and Microsoft
Entra.
Entra should get connected to
Yeah.
all the peripheral systems or like downstream systems of like SAP. So like all this is the right time, and I would agree to a greater extent. I would say like out of 100, 40-50% still people think like security. No, that's nothing but SU01. So still that mindset is there, but that will get changed over the year passes on.
Again, that probably and we can change what we can change, right? So I
Yes,
think that
exactly.
the way I work, I try to control like change the things I can control. Like we cannot change the perspective of others, but it will come eventually, right? So give me your top five things I should be learning if I'm in SAP security and GRC space, no matter where I am on my journey. Do you have like just I know there's so much to learn. I think I actually did a LinkedIn post which I saw like a lot of traction around it. Like this is the thing we should be learning. So do you have your top five? Like if you have said just if somebody comes to you today, Sarvesh, I'm just doing SAP security, GRC, and whatever traditional ECC word, and the new S4 Rise and the BTP and everything else. What is five things I should be learning today?
Yes. So first thing is like keep fundamental rights. The fundamental should be always like your core S4. So that's something the bread and butter. So that's first and foremost. Like you need to start with SAP security, the concept of SAP security. Then you should also understand Fiori security, and that forms the core baseline. That is the first thing. Second thing is about like things happening in the cloud space. So you need to understand what is SCIM, how the principle of SCIM works actually, what a SCIM does. Then once you understand SCIM, naturally you can understand how BTP works and BTP security. So once you come inside BTP security, that is where IAS, IPS, collectively called as CIS, and all this from the security side you understand. This is the top three things which we need to understand. Then we need to get into the risk side of it. That's where you will come into access control in case of on-premise world and IAG in terms of cloud world. This forms the four. But GRC from the beginning, right? And just going back to like some, just reminding 20 minutes before, you said a very nice point. Like when we compare any other people, we always get more traction. Like the infosec or from the all the other teams, like we get more traction because GRC from the beginning is more like a kind of within finance. So GRC always comes under the finance umbrella. Actually. That's where it's more like a CFO organization, and it comes under the CFO organizations. Once you complete the first four pillar, the next thing what you need to focus is process control, risk management, audit management, because that is when you become a pure GRC consultant. So access control or identity is one side of the game. The real, because in access control, what you do is you do something called as can do analysis, whether user can do or not. But where you get your actual result is did do, which comes from your process control and risk management. Whether user has did, that is something which auditor keeps checking, and that's the final stage. So to answer your question, not just the five bulletin points the way like people put it in social media, like first thing is become strong in SAP security, then go to BTP security, then get into the risk side of it. Then you need to start going into the, you completed the can do side of it. Then you need to get into did do. Like that's where process control, risk management, audit management, financial compliance or risk assurance management, all that comes into the picture.
Will you add cyber into it as well, or you think cyber should be under
So
in like?
yeah, that's a good question. Like once you become covered with this, the sixth point, which I would say is ETD and cyber. ETD primarily, ETD cloud ALM. This too indirectly covers the cyber as well.
Okay.
And cyber by itself is like a kind of the separate domain. It does not comes under GRC as such actually. Like as a holistic, cyber security itself is a very big domain, because like in GRC we almost limit ourselves more into the application side of it. Whereas in case of cyber security is not only application, it's like application plus OS plus front end plus penetrating so much. Like that's itself is a separate stream altogether.
And that's where I think I try, at least try to think through, because I feel like the whole GRC, the whole identities, like if you go to the infosec and the cyber world, there would be a under CISO's org, there would be a GRC team, there would be a vulnerability team, there would be identity team, there would be a SOC team, there would be all this operations team, right? I feel like that's probably what we should be walking to. Like there's SAP's, either we call SAP Security. There's always debate whether we should rename us to SAP Cybersecurity, or SAP Security kind of covers every domain of it. Like why we are limiting ourselves. I know we have been a financial driven, SOX driven, and that's where it all started. And it probably made us who we are today, the whole maturity we have in the GRC ecosystem. I don't think, as you said, like I don't see that happening in even like other cloud world. They're still figuring out the whole GRC. It's more about, okay, there's things like that. But I feel like why we can't just say we cover every part of the cybersecurity. I may not be doing and owning everything, but at least I make sure there's a vulnerability management program, which include SAP too, right? I feel like SAP is, I
Yes.
always ask the question, SAP is still SAP is a black box for the outside SAP world, or no, it's changing with whole BTP adoption. Like if you have to say, is it SAP black box? What would be your answer to it?
Actually, like SAP was a black box, and SAP for sure will not be in the black box preview. That is where SAP as a company or like SAP as a product, they themselves also realized it. That's why they got into BTP. They got, if you see like SAP's acquisition also, right? Like after 2012, they never acquired any product which is like a kind of black box product. Success Factor was not black box. Ariba was not black box, and all the acquisition happened on that. They were also in the clear mindset that they need to come out of the black box world, and that is very much needed right now at present, because if it's a black box, then AI will not support that black box. So naturally, they need to come out of it. They need to come in the enterprise wide application. That is coming through. I strongly believe that is coming through. That is why the clean core adoption is also very important. You come out from the black box world, go more towards the open source and the standard source of truth, so that like you don't stick onto a specific programming language. Just keep working on only those programming language. Like now in the S4 HANA world, in ABAP itself, like if you go to BTP, ABAP is there plus some 10 languages is also there. So SAP already came there actually. And probably the near future, SAP will not be a black box for sure.
Thing which I like it, at least personally, but I also think from my cyber, I wear my cyber hat and think like, because we have been saying SAP is black box, even the bad guys don't know about it, so it can't be breached, it can't be hacked, they don't even know what SAP is. But do you think if SAP become a more open or using more open technologies like I don't know, BTP, which is based on Cloud Foundry and Kima, Kubernetes and everything, right? More JSON, more API, are we opening up more floodgates too, or is it a good, like, what's your perspective on that side? Like, if we become more like others, are we losing what we used to do good, or no, we are embracing that the technology is AI, but we also maybe making more secure? Like, do you think it's more secure now with this whole open thing, or it adds that whole, now we the threat landscape, the attack vectors, and these guys now know SAP, and now it can be breached too? What's your answer to that thought?
The question is more like whether Apple OS is strong or Android OS is strong. Like each has its own disadvantages and
Yeah.
advantages for sure. But coming on to the I mean, like there are situations where, like at least like I have seen lots of situations where even the bad actors do come to SAP and they try to do it, and that of course happens. But in case of the BTP world, I strongly feel the community is also more. So like when you go more open, you get more community, you get more adoption to new things which is coming up. Like if you see like the amount of time it took for transaction to come to Fury, it almost took like close to 12 years, 11 years of 11 years of transition, and again SAP had to work so much for it. But once it comes to BTP, then like SAP developed their own LLM, so it can be that quick. So it will be quick and it will be as per the industrial standard. So like if you want to be in the game, then you need to run fast. Like there are big enterprises like Microsoft, Google, who keeps evolving every day, and we want to compete with them. Then at the enterprise level, we also need to be like, we need to keep going more towards open. I feel like that's a way forward it is gonna be. Like I understand learning is a bit that's the only way through which we can do now. Like we have lots of AI prompts through which we can also do things, right? So we just need to get used to it. And yeah, going back to our same discussion, at least spend 30 to 45 minutes every day to learn something new. That's the only way.
Yeah, yeah. So no podcast can be complete without AI, right? So let's just maybe as a last segment, Sarvesh, let's talk about how AI and agentic AI and LLMs and things is changing in the SAP world, if we can cover some part of it, and then how customers and we all can use AI for our from security perspective. So I want to hear your thought. I know you've been building something around it. I heard other things from you as well. Agentic AI, you have some other. So maybe if you can, I don't know how much you can share, but whatever you're gonna share, or just like, what's your take on AI from SAP ecosystem perspective, and maybe more from SAP security space, GRC space, and the whole governance space perspectives.
Yes. So this is one more important thing, like where like our SAP security comes very important actually, because like as you were just telling few minutes back, even for AI adoption, it is mandatory that CIS or like cloud identity services is mandatory. So that way, like that's gonna be the future. But now just going back to the primary question, like how things in SAP world as well as like wider for a customer, for us, like how things are going to change. So it's very important. Like AI is something which is going to be the future for sure, and it is already like driving through the things. But one thing which we need to also be cautious, which is what the area which I am been working on. I mean, like just I did not got a chance to tell about my education history like in the beginning, probably I will take this opportunity to cover
Yeah,
that, right?
please, please.
I have done my master's in MIT on algorithm, AI algorithm, how AI actually does, how the algorithm is written to either to avoid bias or to drive towards bias. And now I'm also doing my PhD on the same topic from European Global University. So the first thing is AI, fantastic. It does great amount of things. But the challenge what we also have in AI is if it is error, then it is also going to go at 100x speed. And with quantum coming, if there is error, it is going to go at 5,000 times speed. So now for us, it is not only the AI use case, which that is one side of the game, that, okay, we need to build agents, we need to build AI agents and all that. But now we are working on the SAP, which, and SAP is more like a kind of an enterprise wide solution. Lots of, if we go for a pharmacy company, there are lots of patients data, medical data. If you go for an FMCG, there are lots of patents. So much of data is there in your system, and if the algorithm is not proper, if you're not screening your algorithm proper, you are creating a model or you're creating a schema which is taking some of the very highly sensitive data, then it will end up in huge amount of fines. So one side is of course the use case of AI, but more importantly, I see there are lots of future once we get into the stage where the algorithm or how the determination of this algorithm is happening, so that hallucination and all that will slowly and gradually come down. And hallucination is okay if I just ask a question, a generic question, that's okay. But hallucination in an enterprise wide application can make decision making a disaster. So that's something which I feel, that's one area where lots of people like us and the wider GRC community should focus on.
Yeah, I think my first guest on the podcast, Jay, I think he, and I think along with his one of the colleague from SAP, I think it's Ron, they have been like publishing this whole thing about the hallucination and things like that, like how AI adoption and then how do it securely. I think I really loved his blog. I think I will try to get maybe both of them on a show again just to cover, because that's such an important topic, right? And I always hear like from my guests is like it's a double-edged sword, right? Uh, I think it's here to help, but it also can go wrong, as you said. That
So
and the wrong thing can go 100x or 1000x as just in quantum computing and things like that. So anything we can do as a SAP professionals or the SAP security professionals, and we will hold the key to the castle, like the identity. Everything has to go with our SAP cloud identity services, right? So that's like one thing. But anything else we can do, we have to make sure I know, maybe follow least privileges, only give them the role and maybe control on that, because I feel like that's what we do pretty good. Like build proper role, limit what they can access, and maybe that's one thing we can do. Anything else we should be thinking and building from our side, Sarvesh?
so probably use AI to challenge AI.
Okay.
Like we also need to be like AI specialist. I mean, like any domain for that matter, not only SAP GRC or cybersecurity, like any domain for that matter, irrespective of all the skills, we should also have AI generalist skill added into it. So it's all about like Microsoft can, and unfortunately SAP is like, it's like it is bit behind in the game, I would say. Like Microsoft, like SAP, if I compare SAP Joule with Microsoft Copilot, if I compare SAP Joule Studio with Microsoft Copilot Studio, if I compare with SAP AI with Azure AI, so always Microsoft at the enterprise level is much ahead actually. So there are lots of good things happening on the Microsoft side which we can inspire and start adopting that in the SAP when we are developing an application purely based on ML scenario, not AI scenario. For AI, like we need to rely only on Joule. I'm speaking more from an ML scenario. Then that can be a kind of an inspiration to be developed on this side of the world as well.
And I think it's changing, it's improving every day, and also that's why now you're gonna have a hybrid landscape. We are not even
Yes.
SAP realized, like you can't just say have everything SAP. So it's a more open, more. That's why this whole BTP has come in, right? The integrations and things like that. It lets you integrate whatever you want to integrate based on whatever systems, whatever tools, whatever things you have in it. But SAP is gonna be there for sure for all the
Absolutely.
fortune. Anything you touch, the milk you drink, the phone you
Yes.
use, the flight you fly with. I don't know. I think it's so ubiquitous, but I feel like it's still not that so such a common kind of a name, at least in like non-SAP world. If somebody is just doing their college or graduating, they don't say, I want to be a SAP security expert. They say, I want to be cyber security expert. I don't want to I want to, maybe I'm GRC. I think we probably have to do a more better job just as a community to make it more. I don't know, like you can come because there's so much of a job. Like this SAP is every company, every enterprise, big enterprises, they have all these things going on, transformation, support, and all. So we always keep hearing there's not many job, but I feel like SAP has so much of a job. It's just like, how do we get new kids to come into R? It's not like by, I think the common thing which I was got like is SAP happens to you. You don't pick SAP, it just happens to you. But I feel like we have to do something where you can pick SAP also as a career. It's not like it's you got lucky, you know somebody, or maybe your company you joined, they put into SAP because that was the project, or they needed a lot of people. That's what had happened to me. But I feel like we probably have to do something as a community where when I'm doing my undergrad, there is a path to say I can be SAP, whatever security, SAP GRC or SAP cybersecurity or SAP functional. I feel like the functional guys more come from the domain thing. They have done their thing and they just learn SAP because they have been using SAP for financial and all. Then they become SAP finance expert. But I feel like that's something should change. At least me personally, I feel like because there's so much of job, so much of knowledge, so much of things going on. This is like, and this is so fascinating because we work closely with our business. We're not in a silo, even though if you go to cyber world, they're like more technical, right? They don't understand the business as we understand the business, right? I feel like so much. And when we learn the cyber part, I feel like we become a better because we have the business knowledge, we have the GRC knowledge, then we kind of just bring the things which have been missing. I know, and we can just talk and talk, Sarvesh. I feel like not 1 hour is enough for us. So one promise I always get from all my guests is like to promise to come back again. I feel like I have some other topics I want to discuss with you. I would love to know your thoughts. But any last thing you want to share for our audience? Anything you want to share before I let you go?
Yeah, so it's like again from the same book. The book is Most and More. Of course, like I'll send all the details like which
I
you
have to
can
read that book.
do
Okay.
it. Yeah. So in that book there is a nice saying, which is what like I keep telling to people like who come for a general discussion, or like they keep asking, okay, Sarvesh, like just give some tips, like something like that. I always tell this point. So in that book, the author nicely tells a kind of in chess. So like in chess, like we have, and of course like now in India, people love chess more because like we already got like few of our folks like already got some great ranking in chess. So chess can be a very good example for everyone. So what happens in chess, like in the chess game, like we have two different kinds of main things, right? Like first thing is the king. The king by default, because of his virtue, he has that power. And the queen, because she is a queen and she is a queen by herself, she has that power. So these two are like like, and this is like compared with people who are born with intelligent. Some of them are born with intelligent, and some of them gets associated with intelligent people, because of which they also become a kind of like the success story goes from there. Then people who are specialized in one area, which is like what we have this rook or like knight and bishop. So they are specialized in one area. Like if rook can go only in straight, and bishop it can only go in certain direction. Like they're like that. There are people who are specialized in certain area, again super specialized in certain area. They also tend to become famous and they also shine. And then comes the last people. The last people are the pawns. But even pawn has the power in the sixth time, like when you move the pawn right sixth, he can be a queen, he can be a king, or she can be a queen and she can be a king. So my thoughts is like people like me, people like most of us, we may not be born with intelligent, we may not be having intelligent people around us, but consistency and performance. So keep improving, keep learning, keep evolving, keep doing. More importantly, performance should also be holding a purpose behind it. And that purpose is not only family, that purpose is not only money, that purpose is not only wealth. It's a community as a human, or like as a mankind as a whole. So that's what every sixth move, everyone can be a king, everyone can be a queen. So just drive with the purpose and make sure purpose is aligned with the performance. So performance with the purpose, like the coin word by Indra Nuri ma'am, actually, like in her book. So that's something which I always tell to people. So don't think that I am not born with intelligent, or I am not born in a place which I can shine. Keep trying, and definitely like universe has all the energy to do whatever it's required to do to get you a king or a queen. keep trying. That's what I want to just end and
I love it. I love it. I think I was just kind of the whole chess story you talked, which is such an amazing, like that sixth time you can become anything, right? So just the continuity, the you said the continuous improvement, the 1%, the atomic habit, right? That was coming in my mind too. Ikigai, you said purpose. Ikigai came in my mind too, right? So thank you, Sarvesh. This was such an amazing podcast. I learned a lot. If somebody want to reach out to you, how they can reach out to you? Is it LinkedIn is the right platform?
yeah, they can reach out to me in LinkedIn. Of course, like I'm very active in LinkedIn. And I also have my own website called as www.artsarvesh.in, which I'll also share, which you can kindly update
Okay,
it. And I'll be
sure.
also available over it. And I'm uh, quite like social guy. So I'll be reach out via email, LinkedIn, sometime WhatsApp, direct call. I will be available.
I can attest to it. So thank you again, Sarvesh, for what you do. Keep inspiring folks, younger generation, even somebody like me. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show, and I will hope we will have you again back.
So I want to probably like just end with thanking you again. Probably like I want to just take one more minute because like I feel like this is something which I want to do it in the beginning, but again like I missed out. You are doing a fantastic job. More than anything, like what it speaks is that so Kriya is again a kind of like it's like for people mainly like from the Western world who have been watching your podcast. So the Kriya itself is like a very profound word in many places, in many scriptures actually. And the Kriya again is like just do your duty and you no need to think about anything, just keep doing your duty. So the name itself is like so inspiring. It's so spiritual, and that's something which always I feel like you're doing a great job, and the name also speaks about it. So I wish you all the very best and keep inspiring people like me, keep getting good speakers like us. And in fact, like as I said, like I'm also a very frequent follower of your podcast. Like almost I watch every author, like starting from the very beginning till Raghu. Like I've also been following. In fact, after this I messaged to Raghu also, like you have done a
Okay.
great job. So
Okay.
so I keep following, and likewise there are many people who keeps following. So thanks a lot for taking this initiative in your busy schedule and trying to help people. This is what society would need actually. Thanks a lot for that.
No, thank you, Sarvesh. This is all thanks to somebody like you and everybody, all the guests and everybody who supported and who liked and is still kind of supporting it. So thank you, Sarvesh. Again, we'll be in touch and I will have you again on the show. Thank you.
Thank you,
Take
sir.
care.
Take care.
Bye.